and then
Yeah.
I'll start. I have a presentation, brief one at our, and then we can have discussion. But I have that question to ask from the Candice. Candice says she might join.
Yeah.
So I'll wait till 5 after
Yeah.
before we start. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad. You know, there's so many health companies, Google Health, and you know, it's interesting to see how, you know, I guess they're sort
Well,
of.
I pointed out that in such large companies, there are people that have roles comparable to you and me. In other words, they're interested in, digital pathology and AI, interested in that, professionally. And it makes perfect sense for us to interact with them, and does not interfere in any way with any large financial deal somebody might make with this big company, because it's sort of apples and oranges. Yeah.
Hi, Sharifa. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Brad. I heard you talk to Drew recently. So.
Yeah, he's great. He's done amazing work, and your group has really done so much. He gave a talk to us, and yeah, and he recommended you again. I know I'd talked to you to give, but he said your work was really coming along, so you might have some things to show us, and so that would be, but whenever you can, it'd be great.
Yeah, I'll try to get it on archive first, and then I'll present. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Probably sometime next month. Be good.
Oh, that'd be great.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Great, awesome. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm recording, and maybe I'll give it another minute and see if anyone else joins. And how's the weather are you in Boston now, or?
Yeah, I'm in Boston. It was raining a lot today, and then yesterday it snowed a lot, so not great. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. Is anybody else in I know you all have the heart transplant paper. Do you think anybody else in your group would want to present or anything like that? You might tell them or join any of our sessions. We'd love to have them.
I think I'm the only person who's working on renal stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want someone who's just doing in general computational pathology, I mean, you can look at the people in our lab and see if like any of the papers interest you, and I can ask them to come give a talk if you'd like.
Yeah, the heart, whoever was involved with the heart paper, I know that was a really good paper. That might be, because we haven't had much other organs, and so that might be.
Yeah, Yana, it was the leader of the heart project, Yana Lukova, and she actually just finishing up her postdoc now, and is I think still on the market. So that would also be a good time for her to present. So I can email her and ask.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, and I see Candice joined. Thank you for joining, Candice.
Yeah. Hello.
Like your that's a different place. I like your library there.
Yeah.
Hi everyone.
Cool.
Nice to see you.
Hello.
Yeah, working from home today. That's a nice change. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I like your
excellent
background. Yeah. Well, I'm just going to present a little bit here, and actually mostly on things that you were asking about. I went ahead and put the spring flowers. I don't know if it may be too early. I took away the skiing people in the snowy mountains, but some people may still be having those. But I was just, again, welcome to everyone for coming, and I really appreciate the involvement and your participation, and also ideas. And we won't meet in 2 weeks, because that will be the end of USCAP, which looks really promising. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make it. But are any of y'all going? Are any of y'all going?
No.
Sharifa or Candice, are you?
No, I'm not going. I'll be attending the thing on Sunday remotely, but not going to the meeting. Yeah.
I think I might.
That's tragic. I'm giving 2 talks, one to the AACR companion meeting and one in the Long Forest.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Wow.
I didn't know about that. So I did put that on here. There are two people who I saw, and actually, I noticed Sharifa's mentor, I think, is speaking also. But these are the ones that are there, and you can see who are presenting, who've been a part of our group a lot. And it looks like a really great session. And since some of us can't go, it'd be great to have a sort of a replay of that. And so when you get your talk done, and I don't know if they have some sort of prohibition against that, but that would be awesome, to hear that again. Or
Sure, I can give you the highlights.
yeah,
Right.
that'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I'll share this. Here's the whole description and I didn't know about your other talk, but that sounds great. But it sounds like an awesome session. Technological advances in anatomic pathology. I noticed you're the last speaker, I think. But
Yeah, I'll have to bring it home.
yeah, exactly. But
Sounds good.
Sharifa's mentor.
My first topic will be pigeons, which is certainly a technological advance.
Yeah.
But Laura, Alexis Carter used to work with me a good bit. I don't see her as much because she moved to the Children's Hospital. But this looks like a really good long course. I think it'll be excellent. Yeah. And so yeah, so that's something to look forward to. And yeah, we'd appreciate hearing your talk. But so one thing we want to talk about was the working group summary for the Banff 2022 report. And Candice mentioned, an intended impact of our working group on future Banff classifications. And a sort of a summary there was translate the rapid advances in digital pathology and deep learning on whole slide images to potential clinical use in kidney transplant pathology. And I think the paper, the main paper is just kidney, but we do I think other organs too. And I think this could be a good purpose statement for our whole, a couple weeks ago I was mentioning, we need to come up with a sort of a mission and vision, or sort of, and I mentioned that here on this slide, sort of a mission or vision or purpose. And I think, this suggested, sort of summary is a good sort of purpose for us. I thought that it sounded really good. I think for the main Banff paper, we could leave in kidney, but for our overarching sort of purpose, I think all of transplant pathology is something we're interested in. So any comments?
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
Yeah,
Few words.
I think it's a really awesome summary. And then also some things to think about that Candice gave us actually from the other.
Sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Yep.
It did mention whole slide imaging, which seems to be the end of the story. But what about all of the new technologies that I'll be talking about that maybe are direct from tissue? So is that phrased sufficiently expansively?
You're right. I think you're right. Yeah, maybe we should change that also. So let's see. What could we? Let's look at it here together. See on on images. Well,
Or just remove the word, just remove the phrase on whole slide images. Digital pathology and deep learning would sort of cover it. Do you not think?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think something like, let me get this going here.
Because digital pathology sort of right now subsumes whole slide imaging.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So So something like, yeah. Oh, somebody say, Candice, were you saying something?
I agree. That's a good point. Make it a bit more, yeah, generic. I agree.
Yep.
Yeah,
Can you
great.
hear me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
thank you. Okay, I'm glad you like that too. Great.
Yep. Excellent.
Okay, yeah, and you also gave us some other
Yeah, I
things.
was saying, yeah, I agree. That's all.
Great.
Okay.
I think
Good. Well, thank you. Yeah. And you also gave us some other things to think about, which we kind of have put our key priorities, the three things that we mentioned here, and put those together, the image banks and collections, the algorithm sharing platforms, and the competition editor trials. And we have some efforts in all these things. We had our first pilot and image bank, the benchmarking data set, which, there are some things there. We might actually need to, as far as the benchmarking data set, there isn't a whole lot on this right now. So we might actually just say, actually, I think both of these things are going to be part of the multi-center trial conducted by Diagraph. They're going to have a data set as part of that. So it's kind of still being assembled. We do have some images on the pilot image bank, but I wouldn't really consider it a benchmarking data set right now on GitHub. But this one is going to eventually be that and provide and it'll also provide algorithms and ways to test algorithms. So
If you did a whole, if you did a slideshow, or it's very small. What I'm
oh,
looking at on
sorry.
my phone.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry. The text was, I was editing at the same time too. So
And-
so yeah. So as far as like future work was something that we needed to comment on. And I think a lot of that is the diagraphed study. Diagraphed is part of that, I think, which we mentioned over here. I think that's one thing. And then, we definitely have, a lot of, and definitely I welcome other people's thoughts on future work. If anyone has any projects, we want to take on, we're definitely open to that. But a lot of what we do, I think, is a way to exchange ideas, and different people may see that different ways. But I really think having the different speakers and people who are generous enough to share their ideas, like Sharifa's coming up, and Richard's shared before and is going to share in the future, and other people who I'm going to highlight in a little bit. But a lot of the future work is just sort of like communication,
yeah, I think that's really important, Brad. I think that's why, that's what you should write in that bullet
Yeah.
point. It's just such an important thing to do, like creating whatever you want to call it, a network or whatever term you want to use, communication channel to bring together and facilitate international collaborations or whatever it is. That would be a really important bullet point there.
Okay, great. I hope this is going to save. Well, I'll have the recording too. So,
Can't you write any faster?
Well, I'm
Come on,
writing with this
Richard.
little. Well, I
No,
wanted to make it.
It's like watching a great painter at work. That's the way you should think about it. You're thinking about it as too lowly a task.
I have
This
a
is-
little. I've done it before, where I have this sort of sidecar. Apple sidecar has this sort of pen tool, but I don't have it all hooked up right now. So I'm working with a little weird mouse. But anyway, yeah. And yeah. So and as far as like intended impact on Banff classification, this is another thing that I see also is like, sort of like the algorithms. So like these algorithms that we eventually share. I mean, it's a long time in the future, but I can see like having, and we've mentioned this before, sort of Banff algorithms that we can, and I mean, I know it'll be a ways in the future, but different people will test their algorithms, and maybe there's one that performs really, really well, and it can be an official Banff algorithm. And I think that could be really cool. And I think we still need to think about the best way to develop that.
So can I ask, Brad, do you kind of see it as part of this working group to sort of provide this network for testing and validation of other people's algorithms, sort of like it's part of the communication thing, putting people in contact with other people that might have data sets or that might be able to run algorithms on their data set or whatever. But is that actually sort of part of the mission of the working group to actually do that validation and then sort of almost clinical validation of people's published algorithms?
That's a great question, and it really is. So as far as going to this slide, as far as the diagraph goes, there's going to be a component here where this like comparing performance, and Mikey's and Dominique are heading this up with Joran Vanderlack, but there's going to be this whole component where different people test their algorithms. And this is the best thing we have so far. I mean, honestly, if someone else comes along with a better sort of like study, or not necessarily better, but another study, we can have multiple studies in parallel. But, there's definitely a component of inter-observer variability. There's going to be multiple pathologists reviewing these slides. I may have a bigger version of this for Richard's. Let me see if I can stop share and find. I think I actually have a better sort of where I blow this up. I can keep my annotations. Oh, that's good. Let's go here. I think I have it. Here we go. This is a little bit bigger here, but this whole study is going to have all of that. Let me just share this again. But that's a great question. But I can see where we can have multiple studies which will eventually accomplish that goal. And
I think it's really important because some of my conversations with people developing algorithms, they're kind of saying, oh well, we don't really need the pathologist to annotate anymore, we can just sort of run stuff and reach diagnoses. But actually the bit where you model, I know the bit where you model then return to the clinical, I mean that's because it's sort of quote unquote replacing the pathologist, at least for some functions. That's where you really need pathologist input. I mean, you wouldn't test whether a robot that does surgery does the surgery right by asking pathologists, would you? So, that's where it really needs to come back to us as a community to say, yes, we would use this tool.
Only for performing the autopsies.
Oh yeah, autopsies, of course. I'd love a robot.
No, I meant that's when the pathologist would come in and evaluate the surgery at the autopsy level.
I get it. Okay.
But yeah, and and Sharifa put that in the comment too. And if you want to say anything, Sharifa, feel free. But yeah, the annotation is definitely part of that, and I'm sure your studies have the pathology annotation component also, don't they?
Yeah, even when you train on like whole slide images and you use extracted labels from the case reports, you don't possibly need the pathologist at the beginning, but you're going to definitely need them to validate the outputs. Our lab creates a lot of heat maps to make sure that the model outputs are interpretable, and that's pretty much the way I think would be best to use in the clinic, because no one's going to trust these algorithm outputs with just like a score and like a diagnosis label.
Great, great. Oh, yeah, I'm glad. It sounds, I heard more from Sharifa's group this week, from a speaker we had, and they're doing amazing work. So, we'll look forward to, hopefully hearing from her and maybe some others from her group in a few, maybe a couple in a month or two, maybe.
Yeah. I just emailed Yana and she said she would definitely be interested in doing it. So just want to send her a couple dates. She can
Okay,
talk
good.
about her
Okay,
cardiac projection work.
So
great.
just a word about heat maps. I was at the SPIE Medical Imaging a week or so ago, and there was a very powerful talk about someone who's saying sort of what's wrong with AI. And one of the interesting things that I didn't realize is that heat maps really are a placebo. They can be highly misleading and uninformative. And so, but it makes people feel better. I wasn't aware of that. Guy's name is Zach Lipton. I forget his university, but it was a pretty powerful talk, and I think it concerned a lot of people in the audience.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Huh. And I see Yukako joined. Thanks for joining,
Hey,
Yukako. I haven't
Sorry.
seen you in a while. Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
Glad
sorry,
to
I
have you
couldn't
here.
join for a while. So.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah. We were just going over some of our goals. So you haven't missed a week. We keep refining what our plans are. So actually we were going over sort of like this report here, slide to report back to the Banff community. So, and I was actually to this last question, and I'd love to get people's thoughts. So when and how will a proposal be brought to the Banff community for consensus decisions? So, for example, I guess if we have an algorithm that's performing really well in a study like the digraph or another study, how are we going to bring, what can we say for this current
Yeah,
paper?
and
Well-
even before that, Brad, sorry to interject, and then I'll shut up and let him speak. Even before that, even thinking about putting in a process, even thinking about, okay, well, how are we going to go about when new algorithms are available, testing them and validating them? Because, what's happened in molecular, we can learn from that things get developed and then they hang around for years and we're still not using them because we haven't put due thought into the process, really. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No, that yeah, it's good to know what you so even before the process. So I guess one thing we could say is that we will try to publish our we will before the process of the development of algorithm development, we will publish, for example, we'll publish our plans, which is kind of what we submitted a paper with kind of the digraph and some other things, the image bank, and we're I don't know if we're still waiting to hear from that, but I think we'll publish our plans, and then when I guess so we can say two things: when algorithms are developed, then then they will be presented to the Banff community. They will be presented to the larger Banff community.
Yeah, and this could be at any time and doesn't need to be face to face, but I think Paris 2024, we should have something tangible, endorphin producing for that group, for face to face consideration in addition to anything else that we might do.
Yeah, so that's actually, yeah, I know it's actually ambitious, but maybe
Yeah.
we should start putting it in our
Think about it now.
Yeah, we could start putting it in our plans to do this, as far as an algorithm that we could sort of like mention, as far as the Banff sort of algorithm for testing. I guess there could be multiple versions of algorithms, but you've got alpha testing and beta testing, and then it comes out. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be, we have published before on the fibrosis project, and we had a simple positive pixel count algorithm in that paper several years ago. So maybe we could even revisit that one on hopefully the
Right.
diagram. Yeah, but we could do other
Yeah.
things. Yeah. I don't know.
And
Yeah.
don't forget about regulatory approval, because there's a simplistic way of looking at that, if you have approval, that's everything. And if you don't, you're not worth listening to. That obviously isn't true. But on the other hand, to do all this without ever thinking about regulatory approval or other similar algorithms that already have it is I think, short-sighted.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So regulatory approval process, maybe what I put here, my annotations got a little off, but but basically, I basically put, that's a really good point. So yeah, sorry, this got off a little bit, the writing, but so I just basically put regulatory approval process should be considered. So that might be kind of a 3-part question or answer to that question, as far as like, so before the process of algorithm development will or publish or maybe disseminate our plans and publish. Let's see, I've got 2 things going on here. Yeah, I did.
One other thing that's way premature to think about, which is that neither performance nor regulatory approval is the last word in adoption. And there's also the financial side. How does it pay for itself? Who's going to pay for it? Et cetera, et cetera. How can it possibly impact workflow, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, all these things cost money. And so, definitely the regulatory, I think the story of actually Alex Lupes could provide us advice on the regulatory thing, because the way he got the iBox approved in Europe, and then I guess, has it gone through with the FDA fully? I know it was under,
Yes, parts of it have.
yeah. So,
About the regulatory,
Uh-huh.
I think it's not so hard right now. So FDA said if sensitivity is 95 and the specificity is 85, it's the line they're going to approve.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not high. And then because the reason, because page AI is the AI was that level.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
see. Cool.
and then everything the lab has to decide, each hospital has to decide to use or
see.
not. And then each hospital has to do validation as well. But the FDA's line is 95 or 85.
Mhm.
But is that for like subclassification tasks, or is that like at what level is, because I know in renal pathology you have to be, it's you have a general diagnosis, but you have even more fine grain analyses.
Yeah, and the FDA also tested 14 pathologists at FDA, like using Page's application, AI application. The result was 95 and 85, and they thought it's good. Yeah.
But prostate cancer is kind of easier to diagnose, and it's like kind of, do you have or not, just the grade, right? Like,
Yeah.
rejection.
So I think they are going to, they cannot change it for purpose, and they said it because final decision is they wanted each hospital to decide. So the line for FDA is that.
How many pathologists could pass the 95-85 test?
14 at the FDA.
Can we get
I meant
14
out-
pathologists in the Banff to agree?
So I think that before FDA study, our study has to have like more pathologists, but the FDA, they tested the proof. I think they wanted to decide the threshold, what is the line to approve or not.
Do you guys have like a group of pathologists that would be, you know, heading this kind of like to validate these algorithms?
Yeah,
Is there like a list of people right now who are doing this or would be interested?
yeah, I think it depends on the organ. Like we have a group of pathologists. We don't do for page, but like myself, like we're doing our own application validation. But not 14, like because breast pathologist, we don't have like 14. So like 10,
For renal pathology?
no, breast,
Okay.
yeah. So each specialty, I think around 10 people. So.
Mhm.
But like page, they can hire more pathologists.
Yeah.
But I think Banff, like you have many pathologists in the community. So should be okay.
Something that could be interesting for like a session or a workshop, maybe at the next group, is just to have, you know, maybe these algorithms and have like like a bunch of pathologists in the same room validate
Yeah.
like an algorithm. That could be like a really cool workshop, and possibly like a paper out of that as well.
Yeah, paper, great. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
You know, I've thought before if there's a way to gamify
Mhm.
pathologist participation in these things, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. Candice put in the chat, racing each other, and things like that, making it fun because, you know,
Yeah.
I know we tried to do annotation of kidney transplant slides here, and we had about 6 pathologists, like, and 3 of them just didn't do much.
Yeah.
No, I was doing a lot of the circling of the tubulitis and things like that, but it was hard to get the others because everyone's so busy, you know, and it's hard to get, you know, a lot of buy-in. But if you can have a game or something like that.
Or you get everyone in the same room and force them to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Get the viewers to bet on the pathologist.
Yeah, can't you do like Twitch streams and things? Like Twitch.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, so well those are great ideas. Let me just share my screen again. Let's see.
Actually, just to take that thought a little bit further, how about instead of competing pathologists, competing algorithms, where you would have 2 or 3 sort of all going after the same data set and seeing how they differ?
So
Because,
yeah,
you know, they may hit an 85%, but they'll make different kinds of errors, and that would be an interesting discussion.
it is. Yeah, you're right. And I think that's part of the digraph study. And I think the really cool thing about transplant pathology is that, you know, I think some algorithms are going to do better at some things than others. Like we have so many parameters like tubulitis and vasculitis and interstitial inflammation and fibrosis and, you know, a variety of things. And so some are going to do better. Then it's not just going to be like Chameleon trial where it's looking at colon, you know, or breast cancer metastasis or whatever, you know, or you know, it's going to be more nuanced, I think, than other pathologies, and not just a yes or no, yes metastasis or no metastasis or something like that. Well,
I want to add one more thing. So
Sure.
recently, like we using a cloud-based AI as well. Like we don't have enough manpower to develop AI, so we use our own AI and also cloud-based AI, like commercial application. So then we annotate, and then we get very good level. But when like scanner change some setting, so it doesn't work. And also we have several different scanners, so that depends on the purpose and the time of the scanning. We use a different scanner, so then also doesn't work. And we keep teaching, and we did the annotation for like 2-3 different scanner before, but then like 1 year later, somehow the algorithm doesn't work. So
Yeah.
then they are asking us to do annotation again. So it's kind of never ending.
Oh,
So,
no.
so yeah,
Wow.
so maybe we can have same setting, I mean, same set of slides scanned by different scanner or different institution. They want to use the same algorithm. Like not only like 5 slides scanned with different scanner, and then using different algorithm and which one can work best, like consistent result per study, not only the ability of diagnosis, maybe consistency of the algorithm per image, and depends on the scanner. So the final purpose, I think we want to have the AI can work with any scanner.
Right.
Right? So that's kind of, even doesn't work, we want to have some information like this algorithm based work with this scanner or this kind of setting, the resolution too. Yes. So then some of the scanner, the resolution is very high. Then some of the scanner, even like sometimes a pathologist think like 20x always the same resolution, but totally different. So that kind of things also AI doesn't work sometimes. Some AI work, but some of many commercial AI application doesn't work. So that kind of things I want to test.
Yeah.
That cannot do just us. So
These are a couple of things that our group has encountered when getting data sets from different countries, the different scanners, different stain types. I've
yeah.
sometimes people hand stain versus use a machine. So there's stain normalization applications that you could use to do stain transfer. And then working at different resolution, like sometimes you get data that's 20x and sometimes 40x. You can downscale it to be 20x or read at different resolutions. And I guess maybe these things aren't as
So
aren't in commercial applications.
yeah, technically it's not difficult, but each AI company, if it doesn't support, so cannot use. So then they keep teaching and telling us to annotate more, like annotate again.
Wow. Gee. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I heard Anant Matabushi talk about that, and he trained an algorithm that worked really well, like a model, an AI model. But then something happened and the scanner got an upgrade.
Yeah.
And the color palette changed on the upgrade with like the colors the way it mapped the colors or something. And the AI algorithm didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So it's definitely challenging. And you're right, Sharifa, like the different stains too can really affect it.
Which shows how far AI is from human intelligence, because none of that would bother any decent pathologist. They just blaze right through it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Although it's interesting. We get new pathologists sometimes, and they look at our H&Es and they're like, "This is nothing like I saw when I was, at my hospital before, and I'm not used to this yet." And then we get like some like outside consults, and it's really the H&Es. It can be quite different, and then the trichromes, especially like special stains, can really be quite different. Some of them are not even trichrome; they're like bichrome. They don't have the red in there, and so yeah, it's just
You could call them specious stains.
Yes.
I like that. You come up with
Not
it.
special species.
I've got to write that one down too. Yeah, that's really good. So yeah.
For staining, like we started like working with the histology lab. We calibrate, like we scan one calibration slide, stain with clinical slide. Then we evaluate the characteristic per stain, like especially HER2 for breast, like now very sensitive, like because HER2 low. So we calibrate and we estimate, we calculate the characteristic of today's stain. So we're using automation, so it's very stable, but just to prove today and same with yesterday. So we really started doing like calibration of staying part. So right now only IHC, but we want to do even H&E and CSU stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. I mean,
Just adding one or two slide before staining, like yeah, it's changed a lot.
oh wow, that's great. I mean, yeah, having a on slide control, although it's so hard to make, but like a tissue microarray or even something I've thought before, if you could have something synthetic like collagen, pure collagen, or something that you could make a lot of it, but I know that would be really hard
Yeah, we're
because,
using a nanoparticle, like
oh,
using,
okay.
we cannot control the particle, but some company controlling the particle per probe and
Uh-huh.
stainer. So that's what we're using.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
Yeah, we have some presentation at the US Capitol.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, I know, yeah, I worked with sort of quantum dots before, and I found that was just, I wasn't sure, it was like they were working very well, and the interference between the different quantum dots, I was afraid there was some interference, and so, yeah. So coming up with better ways of doing that would be great. Well, any other comments on that? I was going to share if Kim wanted to say anything about this controversies in transplantation he's been working on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really interesting process. It's basically a negotiation with the AST president and board, so it's at a very high level. And they told me what alterations they wanted for board approval, and I made them. And interestingly, it lessened the challenge for me. I'm talking about the ethics of xenotransplantation, AI, and why the future is porcine. Well, of course, they're a bit shy about the AI part, and they wanted to keep it and to keep the best parts of the AI, but to lessen it quite a lot and to have many fewer speakers from the AI side and so on. So it made the whole task much easier for me. The way I had thought of it, we're really cutting edge AI. I mean, that would be tough, but that's not what we're doing. And I can understand from both the AST board's point of view and for most people, they want something that they can easily understand and that fits with their own previous experience. So it's kind of a fun success experience of ending up with something that is actually less challenging for me than what I originally proposed doing. The second thing is separation of church and state, right? So I'm doing this controversies conference. They also have transplant visionaries competition, and this would be ideal for that. So I was saying, well, if I'm doing the one, can I also do? They said that would be great. You know, there's no restriction. These ideas are so good. You can pitch them here, there, everywhere. And so basically, I'm going to be talking about this idea of xenotransplant AI and how the future is porcine within the AST in many different ways and venues. It'll be a cutting edge of transplantation, and yeah, so and we'll end up with, you know, enduring materials. And as Brad suggested, we're going to do a survey before and after the controversies conference. There'll be an HAT white paper and, of course, webinars. Lots of video output. And they seem to like that. You might think that they would want one durable output, but they're happy with several. Yeah, so that's where that stands. And I think we're just days away from full board approval of the revised controversies conference. You're probably eager to know the dates. It's October 23rd and 24th. The meeting itself is secret, so there's 30 people there, but nobody else is watching those 30 people. But you then have 6 months for the enduring materials. So on April 23rd, 2024, that's when the enduring materials from the controversies conference will be released, like sent to AJT, sent to the education committee of AST and so on. Yeah, so that's the deal. And Brad has been quite helpful, as has Lynn Cornell. So it's really a 3-person enterprise. I wrote it as if it was me and Lynn didn't like that. She says a lot stronger with just you. So I sent it in as a single author thing, but the board wanted 3 authors. So they've got me and Lynn and Brad. So that's what the final version looks like. Yeah.
And
Any
I've got
questions?
confused. I'm apparently there's a meeting, the American Transplant Congress, American Transplant Society meeting in June in San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You're one of
Yeah.
the speakers there. Yeah.
I am.
Yes.
Who did that? Who put me up for that?
I think Evan Farkash, but
Yeah.
I met with Evan on that. And
Oh, okay.
spoke. Yeah.
I wondered how that happened.
Yeah.
That's the perpetrator. Yeah, now you
Ah.
know the perpetrator. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Evan submitted it, and we actually reviewed potential speakers on one of the meetings here. We kind of went through a list, and then Evan kind of took it and put it together. And actually the board then chose who was gonna, so you definitely were high on their list.
crazy.
So there.
Yeah, thanks for doing that. I think I think I'll be there, and
Oh,
probably
that'll be good.
yeah.
We
So
can
will
party
I.
hardy.
Good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
We'll be a party
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
High quality audience there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so like I said, we won't meet in 2 weeks, but this is our plan for the next near future. We won't meet in 2 weeks, but in 4 weeks, Panaki Sardar will speak, and that should be really great. Yeah, that will be the 30th. Then Sharifa, sometime in April. It doesn't have to be the 13th. We can, if you need to move that. I haven't put you down hard and fast yet. So these April's available, and then we would have time. If you're not able to do it in April, then we would have time in May also. This May the 11th would be when Alex Lupe may be in Edmonton, so maybe he can peek in on that one. Yeah.
Yep.
That would be awesome. And then
Sounds good.
yeah, and then Jesper has agreed to speak. He said he couldn't do it till June the 22nd. But
So, Brad, I was thinking this recording is probably useful to share, because there's not much secret stuff here, and gives a broad impression of what we're up to. I don't know how you feel about that, but
sure. Yeah, we can I could I can probably even put it on
YouTube.
well, yeah, I could put it on YouTube. Yeah.
Or
yeah.
you can send it to me and I can do it. Yeah. Either way.
Yeah. We can do that. Yeah. I'll think about it and get that for you, or get it some way for you. Either a link or just post it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Candice, thank you very, very much. We appreciate your presence here. Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Candice. And does anyone else have any other comments?
Yeah, we got 7 minutes left.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to, and we'll look forward to 4 weeks from today, and I hope everyone has a nice time at USCAP. And like I said, Richard could present his sometime, maybe in May or June, also later May or June. Your a sort of a
Sure.
shortened version of your, and Laura Barasoni is also presenting, so maybe she could do that also. I could touch base with her.
I mean, I can talk about all the amazing other, microscopy techniques
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
that's going on that y'all should know about.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the
Sounds good.
progress of that. Yeah. Well, if there are no
Alrighty.
comments, I think we'll end it a little early today, and I thank
Sounds
everyone's
good.
participation, and we'll be in touch.
Great.
Okay,
Okay. Take
thanks a
care.
lot.
Thank you.
Take care.